Let's get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Glenn Moots, a professor here at Northwood and director of our university's Forum for Citizenship and Enterprise. And since 2009, we've hosted a lot of really impressive people, but one of my very favorite things to do is to sponsor the last lectures of our retiring professors. It is their chance to share with you some parting wisdom and a chance for you to honor them. And tonight we present a Northwood legend, Professor Jeff Phillips. Now, over 40 years of students will tell you that Jeff is one of the very best, and so you're in for a treat. And while you may know about Jeff, the legendary professor, director of the Honors Program, founder of the Honors Symposium, department chair, professional standards chair, advisor to InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, community speaker, owner of a wall full of Faculty Excellence Awards. If you need a room tiled, see Jeff. He has some Faculty Excellence Awards you might be able to use. And now a published co-author on the intersection of Twin Peaks and philosophy. Here are a few more things to celebrate about Jeff. To know Jeff is to know his voice, which you'll hear soon. So it probably isn't surprising to learn that Jeff advised our campus radio station. Did you know we had a campus radio station, WJRN? Jeff is also an avid collector of radio shows, a great bit of Americana, and he owns over 200,000 of them. And he and my daughter share an interest in Johnny Dollar, which is a radio story about an insurance adjuster, if you can believe that. Showbiz is in Jeff's blood. He is a distant cousin of our 40th President, Ronald Reagan. He's also an avid collector of autographs, including original artwork, first editions, and presidential autographs, including a personalized autograph of John F. Kennedy, which the president signed in the Rose Garden for Jeff after his uncle, who was a political cartoonist, told the president that Jeff had a crush on Caroline. And still do. And since JFK resolved that we would put a man on the moon, it is appropriate that Jeff also got to introduce Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, if you don't know that, at Central Michigan in 1975, and go home with an autograph from that too. So also to know Jeff is to know his artwork, especially the pictures he uses to entice students to actually read the syllabus. Now, what you may not know is that Jeff did a comic strip for Northwood's on-again, off-again campus newspaper called The Entrepreneur. And the main character of the strip was Dr. Dale Haywood, another Northwood icon. Now, during the Clinton administration and the Fry administration here at Northwood, Jeff drew Dr. Haywood using one of his familiar classroom gestures, one of Dale's, and the political and social climate being what it was, someone in the church building, who apparently never spent a day with Dr. Haywood, decided that the gesture was obscene and demanded the recall of all the entrepreneurs. So Jeff has been officially censored and maybe censured too. Maybe you'll tell us that story. And then there's Jeff's family, his two boys, Chris and Kyle, who couldn't have a prouder father. Chris has followed in his father's footsteps and is at Southern Utah University as a professor, and Kyle is with us tonight. And Jeff's dear wife, Joyce, who has let Jeff kick around Northwood all these years. We're thankful to them for letting us spend all this time with you, Jeff. There is no one more humble or hilarious, no man more dedicated to his craft or his family, no greater role model of what it means to love and serve. Jeff teaches not only by what he says, but by what he does. He is the best kind of teacher. Over the last 23 years, I always knew I was on the right track if a student said to me, "Your class kind of reminds me of Mr. Phillips' class." So Jeff is going to speak for about 45 minutes. We'll have some questions from the audience. And since we're live streaming this, please use the microphone so that everybody can hear you. And then at the close of the program, we'll have a special announcement from President Priddy, and we have a reception planned for you downstairs in the dining hall. I hope you'll join us for that. And with that, I give you Professor Phillips.
Excuse me. Okay. I welcome this final farewell, and so I've spent the last 5 days without sleep preparing a video presentation for you, and I'll be speaking during it, but we'll see, hopefully, that it goes off without a hitch. Let's see if there it comes. Oh, wonderful. My sons hate that song. Name of my lecture, Zen and the Art of Tuning In. Here we go, we're throwing that out, and we're now going to start with this. The invocation is the invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for. And if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or if you have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with that pain, mine and yours, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being a human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be free to yourself, if you can bear the accusation and betrayal and not betray your own soul. I want to know if you can be faithful and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty every day. And if you can source your life from God's presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and my own, and still stand on the edge of a lake and shout to the sliver of the moon, yes! It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after a night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done for the children. It doesn't interest me who you are, how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in empty moments. Now here's the funny stuff. The answer is 42. For those of you who have not read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's a well-known story about a computer that had all of the knowledge in the universe stepped into it. The answer, it said, to the meaning of life was 42. And so, we're going to talk about attitudes. Step 1, attitudes are caught, not taught. W.C. Fields was once approached by a young woman. You're moving too fast, you stupid slide. W.C. Fields was once approached by a woman who said, "Mr. Fields, you are fat and disgusting, and you are drunk." And he said, "Madam, I am better than you are because tomorrow I will wake up sober and you will still be fat and ugly." That's catching an attitude. Keep in mind that the attitude you send is the one you will receive. Winston Churchill was approached by Lady Astor once, and she said to him, "Sir Winston, if you were my husband, I would poison that tea you're drinking." To which he responded, "Lady Astor, if you were my wife, I would drink that tea." Many times our attitudes are not aware, we are not aware of our attitudes and what attitudes we're sending people. And so it takes a special type of individual to recognize, yeah, you know, we all carry attitudes with us. They kind of generate by halos out of us. That's one of my favorite cartoons of all time because it is absolutely steeped in anarchy. Warner Brothers cartoons are hilarious because Daffy always gets his beak blown up. And you know what? I made it through watching all of those cartoons and I have yet to kill a person. So I'm kind of thinking, that's okay. The truth is, your attitude is you. Now, anyone who's seen The Big Lebowski knows Walter has a little problem with anger management. But I want to tell you a very quick story about my wife. Attitudes are very clear reflections of who we are. We are projecting ourselves when we project our attitudes. And because we're unaware of what those attitudes are a lot of the time, we don't take stock of it. My wife is the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth to me. And I walked into the back door one day after work, and she was standing there at the sink. I don't mean this to sound sexist. Please understand. But it was like walking into a Norman Rockwell painting. I mean, it was the picture of domesticity. And I just fell in love with this woman all over again. It was like, I am so blessed to have a woman who's making dinner for me. This is just so cool. And I walked over to her, and I hope this isn't indelicate, but if it is, I apologize in advance. My favorite spot on my wife is this little cushion of bone and flesh. This will also demonstrate that in many ways, your sense of humor is your attitude. I went over and I put my hand on her hip. And I wanted to convey to her, honey, I feel so lucky right now. And I hugged her, pulled the hip in, and she stopped peeling potatoes. And she looked out the back window with a scowl. And she said, you take your hand off me. Like she was going to start crying. And I thought, whoa, I'm not the UPS man. I was completely flabbergasted. And I looked at her and I said, what? And she said, you're reminding me that I have fat thighs. And I thought, where did that come from? Because that wasn't anything in me. I don't want you. And I was absolutely lost for words. And I just went up to her and I put my hands on her shoulders. And I just looked at her and I said, oh, honey, I wish you loved yourself as much as I love you. And she went, oh. And she gave me this huge hug. And I thought, oh man, there's a line I gotta remember. If you don't get anything else out of this talk, remember that. It's gender neutral, okay? Honey, I wish you loved yourself as much as I love you. It's a great line. Absolutely amazing.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
This is from the worst movie ever made. That's Tommy Wiseau. The Disaster Artist, if you've seen that movie, this is the original, okay? And that little thing was saying, sometimes our attitudes go out of focus. Sometimes we don't even recognize that our attitudes are spiraling out of control. We don't recognize sometimes, gee, I'm really developing a bad attitude here. And I promised myself I wasn't going to say this, but I guess I'm going to. The best illustration I can give you to that, you folks, many of you probably remember Dale Haywood. Dr. Haywood was, in my mind, one of the most influential people I've ever met in my life. Kindest man, most wonderful friend. I defy you to find anybody who would mean as much to you as Dale. And one day, you have to understand this, Dale's purpose at the lunch bunch, we have a lunch bunch, we have a table where all of the faculty congregate. You've probably seen us, some of you. We congregate there, and Dale's role, which he assumed, but we never told him do this, Dale's role was to come in and give us an idea that we were supposed to discuss that day. So one of his most famous ones was, now, I think this is really important, but I want to make this point perfectly clear. I want to get your ideas here because this is very important. It's been bothering me. How long does a wave last? And we sat there and looked at him, totally oblivious to what he was asking. What? You mean like in the water? He said, no, let me explain. Now, this morning, I went out for my daily constitutional, and as I was walking down the street, I looked across the street and I saw my neighbor. And he waved at me. And I waved back. And then I continued on my constitutional. I got back around the block. My neighbor was still there. And I thought, should I wave again? Because I don't want to impose any kind of behavior on him to reply with a wave. So I want to know, how long does a wave last? We never came up with an answer. I don't know, Dale. Gee. But one day, it was a very down day. Very gray, very nasty, not very much fun. Nobody was really spitting out the jokes and laughing and so on and so forth. And we were all just kind of eating away. And Dale looked up, and we said, here it comes. This will get us started. He looked up, he said, not that it matters to anyone, you understand, but I have to tell you, this is probably the finest salad I've had in weeks. Now, I'm an idiot, so you get that kind of prompt. I looked at him, I said, oh, no, Dale, I think it's really important that we know that this is a really good salad. But personally, I'd want to know whether that lettuce was imported or domestic. And if it was imported, was it subject to tariff? And Dale went. And I swear to God, you can ask Barb Sumi, because she was there. I just went, did Dale just flip me off? And I looked at Barb, and she said, yeah, he did. And immediately Dale turned, this is the measure of that man. He turned to Barb and said, oh, now I guess I really should not have done that. You know? Attitudes go out of focus. Doing something to upgrade the quality of your attitude is a do-it-yourself project. So later that day, it really bugged me. And I went back to Dale and I said, Dale, I hope you recognize when I was doing that stupid thing I do, I don't want you to take offense. I meant it in only the most respectful and loving manner I possibly could. I hold you in nothing but perfect esteem. And he said, oh, I think I knew that, but it's nice to hear anyway. I thought, oh good, dodge that bullet. Okay. Because here, the whole issue of attitudes in the final analysis comes down to this too. Environments of negativism simply increase the challenge. Now, if the slides were slower, and that's on me, I was trying to just get out in time, make them fast, talk faster. You'll notice that the first letter of each thing will spell attitude. Attitudes are caught, not taught, the truth is, and so on and so on and so on. That's why there's so many of these things. Environments of negativism only increase the challenge. For a long time, and I'm sorry for anybody who's ever been in any of my classes, but I have to say it again, case studies have proven that 77% of what we think on a daily basis is negative. That we spend better than 3/4 of every day thinking about what we shouldn't do and what we don't care about, and so on and so forth. Take any form of the word no, and suddenly what do you have there? You have a negative, which means you're going to be focused a little bit more on that than all the good stuff that can come through us. So, apologize in advance for this one. This is not a dirty joke, but it uses an expletive. So are there any young people watching this anywhere? Please walk out of the room. Case study. people were trying to determine whether it was the old nature or nurture in argument that made us determine whether we were going to be positive or negative all the way through our lives. Were we born that way, or was it the way we were raised that caused us to be positive or negative? Scientists got together and got two little boys, 5-year-old, put one in a room. One had an absolutely atrocious, awful, negative way of looking at the world. They put him in a room with the finest, most beautiful toys you can imagine. Every toy a kid could possibly want is in that room. They took another little boy who had the most cheerful disposition you've ever seen. Excited about everything, happy about everything, filled with love, running around, hugging people. "I love you," he said to just about everybody, which made him very popular later in life. And they put him in a room filled with excrement. They left the boys in there for 3 days. Finally, they went back to the little boy who was in with all the toys. Opened up the door. Everything was broken. Balls were split in half. Games were broken. Toys had their heads ripped off. And they looked at the kid and said, "What is wrong here?" And the little boy said, "Why did you put me in this room? This is terrible. I hate this place. I got the ball and I threw it, and it went across the room and it hit the wall, and it came back and hit me in the head. It gave me a headache. I mean, this was just terrible. And then I tried to play with a video game, and I got a shock from it. And it was just, why did you do this to me? Why did you put me into this horrible environment to torture me so?" And the doctors walked out and said, "Well, evidently the environment didn't have too much to do with his attitude. It's still pretty crummy." So they went into the room with a little boy who was filled with poop. And they couldn't find him. They looked all over the room. And finally, they found this very small hole over in the corner. And handfuls of poop were being thrown out rapidly. And finally, one of the doctors said, "I'm going in after him." So he burrowed in, pulled the kid out, and here's this boy, dirtier than you can possibly imagine, just horrendous. They look at the little boy and say, "Okay, what in heaven's name are you doing? God bless you." The little boy said, "Hey, the way I look at it, you got this much shit in a room, you got to have a pony buried in here somewhere." Okay? And violence and negativism simply increase the challenge. Hold it right there. It's the intermission time. Whoa! Here we go, folks. This is the intermission. Don't worry, I'm not going to speak this long next time again round. But if you will look under your seats, 100 of you will win a prize. Look under your seats and see if you have a sticker with a number on it. If you have a sticker with a number, the winner is 42. You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. Nikki, could you help? Dave, can I enlist your help? Burr, burr, burr. Almost everybody gets a car. We only have 100, so I apologize to those of you who won't get one. But you chose the seat, so blame yourself. The good people who are helping me right now, Dave Marsh, please give him a round of applause. Fantastic man. Wonderful influence. Nikki Haywood Gonzalez, Dale Haywood's daughter, who was also my paper person, as was her brother. He was a paper boy. She was a paper person. Don't sit down yet, Hosanna. This is my daughter-in-law, Hosanna, and my son, Kyle. Okay.
Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities. Some of my realities become dreams.
The first half of the talk was just about concept. Now, how do we apply it? My ability to do whatever it is I do has come from my ability to stand on the shoulders of giants. Two of these people are very important. My mom on the right, my dad in the middle, Smokey Bear right next to me, and yes, that's yours truly. I was 32. Five years after I entered this world, I was blessed with this beautiful young lady who is my sister Jerry, who recently retired after teaching special education classes for the better part of 30 years. A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger was one of my biggest heroes growing up. And here's why. He had a creed. Honest to God. I believe that to have a friend, a man must be one. That all men are created equal and that everyone has within himself the power to make this a better world. I think Northwood was founded on that idea. That God put the firewood there, but that every man must gather and light it himself. This is back when men were the only ones working. Okay, so don't hold it against him. He's an 1800 guy. Okay. That a man should make the most of what equipment he has. Not going into that. In being prepared physically, mentally, and morally to fight when necessary for that which is right. That this government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall live always. No applause for that? All right, fine. That men should live by the rule of what is best for the greatest number. Dr. Moots, what philosophy do we call that? You win. Did you get a car? You did get a car, all right. Nothing else. That sooner or later, somewhere, somehow, we must settle with the world and make payment for what we have taken. No such thing as a free lunch. That all things change, but the truth, and the truth alone, lives on forever. I believe in my Creator, my country, my fellow people. I like that. Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman who could change the course of mighty rivers, bend steel with his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights the never-ending battle for truth, justice, and... Oh, what enthusiasm. Okay. So, yeah, truth, justice, and the American way. As early as 1959, I must have been dreaming of a global free enterprise philosophy. Dr. Pretty's over there. Now, these two heroes are really wonderful, they're great people, but there's a real one, Aggie Friel. Agnes Friel was my 3rd and 4th grade teacher. She was the person who literally looked up at that unfinished portrait of George Washington and said, "Any one of you kids can be president." And we cried, you know, because it meant something. You know, it's not like pointing at Clinton, you can be president, you know. And, you know, and all the 14-year-old boys are going, yeah! Little bit of trivia. Aggie died in 1973. She was also my father's teacher. My dad had her in 3rd and 4th grade, too. An amazing lady. One of my favorite cartoon strips of all time was Crazy Cat. I don't know that too many of you have even heard of her, but notice over here, transgression. It's back in the early 1900s. Crazy Cat actually made domestic violence funny because that mouse over there, Ignatz, was known for hitting her in the head with a brick. And he did it for over 50 years. My uncle Frank Williams was a cartoonist for the Detroit Free Press for about 40 years. And it was he who got the autographed picture of John Kennedy for me. Also got to go to London with him and my aunt in 1970, where I met Harold Wilson and got his autograph. That was the Prime Minister of England at that time. And met probably 60 different editorial cartoonists across the continental United States. Also met one of the princesses, Princess Anne. She wouldn't give out any autographs, so. Okay, flash forward through the awkward high school years and college years. Bad time. But this is where it led me. 3 couples, 2 generations in one glorious day. My mom and dad are over here on the right. Obviously, my wife and I are in the center, and her parents are over here. My wife and I are the only 2 left alive now, but we don't plan to check out anytime early, so. Here's the love of my life. This is my wife. Pay no attention to the man standing next to her. Ew. But this is my favorite picture of my wife. It really captures the grace and the beauty and the steadfastness. I am just incredibly blessed that she suffered lapse of reason 40 years ago this August. These are 2 of my favorite photos of all time. This is a picture of my son Chris, who is now 37. And this is a picture of me and Kyle, who is almost 30. I don't know why that's important, but I just thought I'd throw it. More trivia. This Santa Claus was my Santa Claus. The same man. And I felt so lucky to get a picture of, well, one of my sons with him, because he quit being Santa before Kyle showed up. But that's one of my favorite photos of all time, because it reminds me so much, because that man did not age at all. That's literally how he looked when I was a kid. Don't know how he did it. This was taken at my sister's house. Kyle was just a little guy, but I love that picture because it shows that he's still not afraid to say, "I love you, Dad. Can I have your beer?" I don't drink beer. That was a cheap joke. Okay, so here are Chris and Natisa, Chris and his wife, and this picture was shot when Chris got his PhD in philosophy. Natisa wrote us a note and said, "I'm married to a doctor," and sent us this picture. Here, Kyle and Hosanna. I dare them to look any different than they do right there in that picture. I swear to God, they've been married over a year. We're going on 2 years. And incidentally, Chris and Natisa got married on August 5th. Joyce and I got married on August 5th. Kyle and Hosanna got married on August 5th. Our whole family will never forget when we got married. This is a very cool shot. I don't know how many of you have seen Wes Anderson's movie, Moonrise Kingdom. If you haven't, go out and get it. It's absolutely the most charming thing you've ever seen. Kyle and Hosanna decided to pose in exactly the same shots that the movie shot. And we've got, how many do we have?
40 at least.
Yeah, probably 40 different shots of scenes from the movie. My sons have had brushes with giants too. Kyle has been hanging with Turquoise Jeep. Okay, show of hands. How many of you have heard of Turquoise Jeep? 2? Yeah, but you're one of them. 2. Okay, 3 people. Yeah. Hot diggity. Did my best, dude. Chris actually met Tommy Wiseau, who's the star, director, producer of The Room. You can't see it, but the man is actually wearing 5 belts. We have no idea why. But Chris said, he came over and he draped his arm around me and we got the shot. I didn't know what to do, so I just gave a thumbs up. Ha. Okay, quick disclaimer. Anyone attending this presentation should voluntarily include him or herself in this retrospective because no one should feel slighted in any way. You're all quality people. It's just that I only had so much time and I can only jam so many pictures in, so you're not slighted in any way. This is a photo of Robert Pirsig. Anyone who has spent more than 32 seconds in my presence has probably heard me talk about Pirsig. But let's move on. Here are the giants. Northwood Honor Roll. These are the people who have guided us through the honors program. think you recognize the front row there. Might even recognize a couple people in the next row. You can see their names here. Big shout out to Jamie Burns, Chandron Malvaganum, Lance Lewis, Margaret Collarelli, and Patty Hart Tim. These are the people who really pushed me with the honors program and made it into something great. I take absolutely no credit for anything that went right with it. These are the people who had my back. These are 4 of my brothers in arms. Cliff Harris. Cliff is my brother. Glenn Moots. And Coach Leonard Haynes, who I still swear has the best smile on campus. And Lou Ferenzi, who's not at Northwood anymore, but doggone it, that's one of the greatest photos I've ever gotten of it. Lou Ferenzi had that taken at the Stella contest when they were doing, where was it held? You remember? Where is it? New Orleans. Yep. You're supposed to go down, there's a photographer up there, and they say, okay, give us your best Brando scream of Stella. You know. So Lou stripped right down. Stella! That's what you see. These folks are great people. Dr. Robert Grube, former student and now really important guy, gives a lot of money to the college, so I feel obligated to say that. Dr. Robert Ciro, who actually hired me and told me when I won an award, don't thank me, because that's what I was doing, I was thanking him. He said, don't thank me, just recognize that I saw a lot of potential in that skinny little kid I hired all those years ago. And our best buddy here, Tim Nash, who obviously is Milton Friedman's adopted son. Very big influences, giants, warm hearts, Benedict and Amy Hughes, Mariana Gregoris, love you, and nuts, Benedict Hughes. More group, Stacy Romanchuk, John Grether, Jill Olette, and Chandron Malvaganum. This was taken in our backyard where I was only allowed to drink water. And the lasting influence of Tom Neal. And for those of you who never knew Tom, you missed out. What an amazing, funny, wonderful man he was. Could always get us going, and usually picked fights with Dr. Haywood. Dale would say, well, I'm going on a cruise. And Tom would say, well, I like cruises. I really like cruises, because everything is paid for. And that would rile up Dale. Oh my goodness. Okay, giving more support than the Tridge, Gene Beckham. Buddy of mine, Andrew Iwamasa, who owns the comic book store in town. And Teresa George, who has really been doing an absolutely spectacular job, one of the true unsung heroes of Northwood. She's beyond the pale. And you may not even know that she's working with Leadership Midland and Youth Leadership, and she's been helming that for a while. Just, I don't know. I wish I got to know her faster, earlier in my career. Here are some dynamic duos. These are people from the honors program. They all, they were all presidents or vice presidents of the Student Honors Association. Corbin Wallstrom, who is working for Disney right now, Anastasia Duell, who evidently is getting married this July. I don't know what her official, no, I can't say official position, that sounds terrible. I don't know what job she has right now. Jill Fisher, who still is one of the most undeniably weird people I have ever met in my life. And Harry, who stayed around here as long as he possibly could. And then finally had to just call it quits. Noah and Emily are like my, I guess, right and left arm. These are two of the coolest people I've known literally in my 42 years. Love these folks. These are amazing people. You know, I was telling Kyle over dinner, one of the things that I'm really trying to get out of is this statement, well, it goes without saying. You know, do your parents love you? Well, yeah. Have you told them? No. That goes without saying. No, I'm sorry. It doesn't go without saying. I love these people. These are people who have made fundamental changes in my life for the better. And I'm not going to walk away saying, well, they know. And so maybe they don't. I would recommend to any of you here who have good parents, good friends, people of tremendous support, tell them, thank you. You have made a huge difference in my life. I don't know what I would do without Margie on a daily basis.
I love you too, Jeff.
Stacy Thurston has been here, I think, forever. I think she came with the buildings. But she's amazingly young, okay? You couldn't ask for more help on this campus. She has saved my backside so many times, I don't even know how to say thank you anymore. Amazing lady. Carmel Yvonne, when it comes time for anything with honors and registrarial functions, she's my godsend. She has done everything, absolutely amazing. And Rachel Spear, with her son Trey, was one of the first students many, many, many years ago who actually came into the office and just talked to me. Not because she wanted a higher grade. She just wanted to talk. And it was like, why are you here? And she said, I just want to talk. And I said, to me? So I celebrate her family. Great people. Sahara Hune, I call her Desert Flower because of her first name, Sahara. Laura Walton. Laura's sister had a brain aneurysm during a term when I was working with Laura, and I've never seen a woman show such fortitude and grace as she continued to work through the class and the issues of her sister, who is now doing well. Alex Gardner. I don't know what to say. Alex is probably one of the top 2 favorite people at Northwood of all time. She took 3 years of honors on the committee and made them work. And what an amazing young woman she is. And Caitlin, God bless her, she took this incredible photograph of the loons and won this huge award for it. And as soon as I saw it, I wrote to her and said, I've got to have a poster of that. And she said, we can get that done. And she gave me this incredible, well, I paid for it, this really beautiful incredible picture, and I made her sign it because artists always have to sign their work. These people are relatively recent to Northwood, but boy, they're going to stick with me for the rest of my life. Here are the founding members, some of them, of the Lunch Bunch. Jay Chandran, Barb Sumi, Jamie Burns, Bill Bateman, Donna Wagner. Oh, I skipped you, Jay. You're over in the other picture. And Mariana. 42 years of amazing, wonderful lunches. I got to teach afternoon classes because of these people. They saved me. Oh my God, I got a class this afternoon. Oh, okay, well, let's just talk about funny stuff. Okay. And it was wonderful. That's the man. Quite honestly, that's a family right there. Kurt and Nikki and Marcia and Dale are some of the finest people I have ever met, bar none. These are just extraordinary people who have continued to leave this world so much better than when they first entered. God, I wish everybody could be like you guys. I mean that. And the award for best friend, biggest heart, most spirit-filled heart, goes to Barb Sumi. We went through separate hard times together, and we made a pact at one point. If I ever say, well, it can't get any worse than this, would you please kick me as hard as you can in the butt? And we did that. And we made it through, and we're stronger, and we're better because of it. But doggone it, outside of my wife, I don't think I love a woman more than I love you. You are just beyond belief.
Thank you.
Which then brings us to this. Please excuse me while I bore you with a short story. I want to make sure it's coming in. Yep. Don't know if any of you have watched a TV show called This Is Us. But there was one episode that made a very strong impact on me, and as soon as I saw it, I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to close with. I think I scared you before. All that talk of ghosts and dying, all that adult stuff we were reading about. That's some pretty confusing adult stuff. So I thought I'd come up here, show you my painting, tell you what I think my play is all about, because I was thinking it might make us feel a little bit better. But you gotta promise not to make fun of me, okay? So, yeah. I painted this because I felt like the play was about life, And life is full of color. And we each get to come along and we add our own color to the painting. Even though it's not very big, the painting, you sort of have to figure that it goes on forever. Like in each direction. So like to infinity, Because it's kind of like life. It's really crazy if you think about it. That 100 years ago, some guy that I never met came to this country with a suitcase. He has a son. who has a son, who has me. So at first when I was painting, I was thinking, maybe that was that guy's part of the painting. And then down here, that's my part. And then I started to think, well, what if we're all in this painting? Everywhere. And what if we're in the painting before we're born? And what if we're in it after we die? And these colors that we keep adding, they just keep getting added on top of one another till eventually we're not even different colors anymore. We're just one thing, one painting. My dad, he's not with us anymore. He's not alive, but he's with us. He's with me every day. It all just sort of fits somehow, even if you don't understand how yet. People will die in our lives, people that we love. In the future, maybe tomorrow, maybe years from now. I mean, it's kind of beautiful, right? If you think about it, the fact that just because someone dies, just because you can't see them or talk to them anymore, it doesn't mean that they're not still in the painting. I think maybe that's the point of the whole thing. There is no dying. There's no you. There's no me. There's no them. It's just us. And this sloppy, wild, colorful, magical thing that has no beginning, has no end. It's right there. I think it's us. Benediction. May those who love us. And for those who don't love us, may God turn their hearts. And if he doesn't turn their hearts, may he turn their ankles. So we will know them by their limping. Amen.
Chris is actually calling from Utah right now, so I'm going to throw it on speaker and let him share his comment.
Oh my God.
You're on, dude.
Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
Have you been able to see any of this stuff?
I haven't seen the whole thing.
Oh, no. Are you okay with what I said about you?
Everything you said is great.
Oh, good. Okay. Check is in the mail.
Because I wanted to say that since it doesn't go without saying, I think you're awesome. And I'm sorry that I couldn't be there today. I had to deliver some lectures that were decidedly unimpressive after what I just saw.
Okay, look. I wanted to get through this whole enchilada without crying, so don't say too much more, okay?
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. In any case, I wanted to thank you for being an awesome dad. I wanted to thank you for being an inspiration.
Oh, dude, you've already passed it. You know, I mean, that's no biggie. You've already, you and your brother are taking this to the next dimension. I'm just retiring.
Well, if Facebook is any indication, the post that I shared yesterday of the two of us suggests that your influence is greater than mine by a large amount. I think I got more likes on that photo than any photo that I've posted in, I don't know, 10 years of posting on Facebook. So,
Look, you're in the will. So, you know, I appreciate everything you said, and I know it's from your heart.
all right. Well,
So-
I'm gonna turn it back to Kyle since he has the mic. I love you a whole bunch, and I'm really proud of you, and congratulations on your retirement, Dad.
I love you too. Give my best to Natisa.
Everyone's just staring at me. There's an expectation. Going in line with what Chris said, but also when I went to Northwood, people would always ask me, are you going to take your dad's class? I said, well, why would I do that when I've learned from him for 20 plus years? I'm the lucky one because I've got to spend all that time with you, and you know, I hear so many amazing and incredible things about what the kind of professor that you are. And it's not surprising because you've been far and above an even better dad to all those things. So it goes without saying. But, you know, couldn't be more proud. And I cannot speak more highly of another person. And I am honored that you would even say that Chris and I carry your lineage, because it is a very, very, very big one to be carrying on. But we love you and we're proud of you, and we are so, I'm just glad that Jose and I had the chance to be able to be here and witness this, because this has been incredible. And it's interesting getting a taste of what your presenting is versus your fathering, because although they're different, they still carry the same wit, the same heart, and the same integrity. So thank you.
Jeff, I'm not entirely satisfied with your first answer, though. I think you should turn around and watch the screen.
Professor Phillips has always took the time to send me emails and thank me. And when I always looked up to him as a legend on campus, he always took the time to thank me, share special words of encouragement, but also make sure that I knew how loved I was. And coming from a man like Mr. Phillips, it meant the world to me.
One of the things that I remember you most is supporting me through winning the MILB Photo of the Year. I really appreciate all the kind words you said to me, and through the things that you taught me within the classroom and outside the classroom, honestly really did help me to win that photo. So I really appreciate everything you've done for me, for expanding my creativity, and just for inspiring me to be a better person all around within my business and just my personal aspect of life. So thank you so much, and I truly, truly will never forget everything that you did for me here.
The words that describe Jeff Phillips for me include extraordinary, gifted, passionate. He cares about his students, and it shows from the moment he starts working on that intricate, entertaining, and delightfully thorough syllabus that he hands them at the beginning of the class.
Thank you very much for all the advice that you've given me, especially being in the honors program and everything. It made a huge impact on my life, and I enjoy your stories that are about all the people that you've met in your life and encountered and how they've shaped you as a person. And thank you very, very much for shaping me as well as an individual. and happy retirement, and we're all gonna miss you here.
Professor Phillips is a quirky guy. He's an amazing personality. His stories are memorable and relatable. He cares about all of his students, and all those memories will forever be remembered through Northwood and all of the students here.
I remember the first time I was walking past one of his classrooms, and I was listening to the video from Meatloaf, the Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, and I thought, wow, what a professor to be able to engage his students in such an interesting way. And when I was speaking with him afterwards, he was telling me that he was explaining to them the honors English class, you know, the parallelism between the two things that were going on, but, you know, with that video, with that song. And so I thought it was great to be able to pull that into a class. So I just hope he can keep that spirit wherever he goes, and wish him well in all of his adventures.
I was asked to share a time that you made me laugh, and I couldn't pick just one because you're always funny. And then if I had to pick a favorite memory, it would either be going to see The Circle and getting a thing of popcorn that was big enough to put a fat baby inside and had our commentary, or it would be the time that I made you a card that asked you not to die and your reaction. And I'd like to thank you personally for everything you've done for Northwood and for myself.
I had him for my first class coming to college. It was a Monday afternoon. He just kind of started my college career on the right foot with his charming wit, with his intelligence. He really kind of made me look at life in a different way and grasp that M word we all know and love, meaning of everything. I wish you the best, Professor Phillips, and by the way, Twin Peaks, I'm on it this summer.
You are one of the faculty members I want to emulate. Your love and compassion, energy, your excitement of teaching. I'd love to have students think of me like they think of you, because you're very beloved. I am thankful that my husband got to hear you speak, because I get flowers much more often, and you know exactly why. So all the best, and we'll miss you very much.
The reason I've used the word timeless to refer to Professor Phillips is because not only is what he wears timeless, but I still use the techniques I learned in writing from his report writing class that I took as a junior in college. The things he taught me then are still things I use today. Congratulations on your retirement.
Jeff, may you fondly reflect on the thousands of lives you have touched with your joy of the written word. May you find peace in knowing that you've made a difference in the world. May the gods of retirement shine brightly on your future. May you enjoy all of the retirement adventures that come your way. Your Northwood friends, family, and students are going to miss you a lot. Who's going to bring me my Diet Mountain Dew?
Actually, a quick story. In 2016, my sister was in the hospital and she was on life support at one point, and I was getting a lot of texts and emails and calls from friends and family, but Professor Phillips has stood out the most because we just got done talking about how words have no meaning in his class, and it was called the container myth, and they only, words only have meaning which we give to them. And so he emailed me and said, there are no words right now for what you're going through, but just know that so many people are there and thinking about you and your sister and praying for you. And that actually meant more to me than pretty much any other text, call, email I got from anyone else, and it gave me a lot of comfort in that time. So I really appreciate that, and appreciate all of the time and effort he puts into his classes. And I hope you have a great retirement, and you deserve it.
Jeff, before I knew you as a witty and amazing Northwood professor, I knew you as a fun and loving father for Chris and Kyle, a caring and devoted husband to Joyce, a true friend to my dad. Thank you for everything you've done for my family, the Northwood family, countless students, and the betterment of humankind. I hope you enjoy retirement and find time to catch up on all those movies you saved on Betamax.
Professor Phillips, I know that I don't have to say how influential you've been in my life. You've really, from the start of my time at Northwood, you've really been a big impression on me. You've mentored me through the honors program, and you've taken the time to sit with me and talk to me about, life and television and the media and society, and I feel like I've been able to think a lot higher than I would have before. I'm truly, truly going to miss you. And I know I'm very emotional, but you've really made such an impact on my life. I wish I could keep you here for one more year, because when I graduate, you can do whatever you want, but I know it's your time to retire. I understand that. I want nothing but the best for you, but just know I'm gonna miss you.
Go, relax, travel a lot, pack your suitcase, go to warm weather, have fun, make your schedule your own, and then come back and visit us regularly. I know I'd love to see you, and so would the rest of the campus.
Look at this. This is magnificent. Twins.
Please stay right here, Jeff. Your lecture, your last lecture in these 42 years you have served our students, our faculty, and all of the alumni of this university have truly inspired that attitude of gratitude that I think you had hoped to inspire in all of us during that time frame. And I've got just a couple of things you've heard on video, and you'll hear a lot more at the reception we're going to have afterwards. And really, there's a lot of people who couldn't be in this room tonight that are, in fact, watching this, including Dr. Bob Groom in Colorado, including a couple of other trustees. It's your opportunity. Last lecture. But we really want to say thank you in at least a couple of different ways. First, thank you for all you have done for our honors program. I know you shared in the lecture that it was a team effort. A lot of people have helped to make that program the extraordinary program that it is. And the symposium, which I have grown to love over the last 6 years, that you put that together and made that a really important part of the spring semester. And even when we have to be other places, I try to fight my way back there to be a part of it, because it really is meaningful, it's well done, it's first rate, and henceforth, here at this university, that's going to be the Jeff Phillips Honors Symposium. And even more of those students to go off and have the success like so many on the video and so many others that are in this room this evening that really have benefited from your guidance and your leadership. Secondly, in the history of our university, we've had but 15 faculty members that have ever received the title of Professor Emeritus at this institution. And you are effective today, even before you finish the semester. We would, with great honor, like to name you Professor Emeritus of Northwood University for your service to our students, to your faculty colleagues, and to all of our alumni. Jeff, thank you for all you've done, and I know it doesn't go without saying that we all love you. Thank you so much.